Kyle Larson crashes the dominant car, Cindric. NASCAR officiating continues to be inconsistent, but at the end of the day, Christopher Bell is the winner. Let's break down NASCAR racing in Atlanta. Hello everybody, welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host Alex Lambert, and let's talk about NASCAR at Atlanta, where Christopher Bell finally gets that Atlanta win, and he gets it by leading only the final lap. Kyle Larson, Cindric have a run in. Carson Hocevar has conversations with multiple drivers on pit road. We'll talk about a couple of crashes we saw. We'll go through the top 10. We'll talk about NASCAR officiating woes once again, or really just inconsistency from yesterday in the minor league race to a week ago in the Daytona 500. We'll break it all down, and let's start out by talking about the finish to this Atlanta race. Christopher Bell, you can take a look at it here. You see Carson Hocevar in the 77 car gives that yellow number 20 of Christopher Bell a huge push on the final lap, bunches him out to the lead. Once again, that's a Chevrolet pushing a Toyota to the lead past Kyle Larson. You see then Hocevar tries to go 3 wide. In this time span, Josh Berry, a few others get involved in an accident. The caution comes out. NASCAR does throw the yellow flag. The caution lights come on. Christopher Bell, clearly out front when the caution was thrown, is clearly the winner of this Atlanta race. And that's a little frustrating. We'll talk about the officiating call. But let's just talk about Christopher Bell for a second. What a performance by Christopher Bell. Coming up through the field all day long. You saw at the beginning of the race, these Toyotas, they qualified bad. They struggled a little bit at the start when the track temperature was hotter. The sun went down. The Toyotas got a little better. Christopher Bell excelled, came up to the front, ran his way back up to the front, used a little bit of strategy at the end of that second stage. Christopher Bell certainly earned this race win, no doubt about it. And Christopher Bell, I just want to say before I move on, that Christopher Bell has really improved on the super speedway style racing tracks, right? Daytona, Talladega, now Atlanta, kind of. Christopher Bell was not good at these, when he first started racing in the Cup Series. His talent and his level of success at this track has really ramped up. You see him starting to finish better in the Daytona 500. He was running up front a week ago till everyone just started crashing each other out. You see him run faster and finish better at Talladega. He's got a couple of top 5s, top 10s at Atlanta since the reconfiguration in 2022. In the last couple of years, 2023 and 2024, he has those upfront finishes in the top 5 at Atlanta. Certainly, you've seen a very mature Christopher Bell since the 2021 season, where he didn't do good at super speed. Was blamed for a very popular crash in 2021 at the beginning of the race. Christopher Bell's super speedway racing talent has certainly gone up. He was able to get the win today. I think he earned the win. I think it's celebrated. I think Bell could be a threat to win more of these, pack racing type races moving forward. Let's talk about the officiating call on the final lap. NASCAR once again throws a caution before the race is over. And I think this is just frustrating because what are we going to do, right? I talked about it after the duels on Thursday night, the first NASCAR race of the season maybe. NASCAR throws a caution right before they're coming to the finish. That was really frustrating. I mentioned that just use some situational awareness, that you just need to let them race back to the line. Even the official that was controlling that race said that following that race. Then we have the Daytona 500. NASCAR never throws a caution on the final lap for the huge crash. We have yesterday in the Xfinity Series race, big wreck on the back straightaway. Same spot the wreck was today. No caution until after the leaders take the checkered flag. And then we have today, NASCAR throws a caution before the leaders take the checkered. They did say either last night or this morning, I believe it was Elton Sawyer, said that they would throw a caution again. If there is this issue, we got to figure this stuff out. I don't know why this is an issue in the middle of the year or after the start of the season. I feel like this should already be determined before going into the year. We have 70-something years, 75-plus years of NASCAR history to look and see how we can officiate and throw cautions. I think officiating is not great right now. I think it's maybe the worst it's ever been in NASCAR, but I don't expect it to get better. It'll probably just get worse. They probably won't fix it because it's gotten worse and worse with the consistency, at least, over the last 4 or 5 years. So I don't expect it to get better with the consistency. NASCAR did say they would throw a caution this morning, so I have to give them that benefit that they did. And Christopher Bell is, by rules, the winner, and I think he was going to win anyway. He certainly deserved the win today. After that, let's talk a little bit about before this, a few laps before the finish of the race. Kyle Larson, Cindric racing. I think Christopher Bell was up front as well. Ross Chastain was still up there. But Cindric in the green number 2 car, or I guess that was bright yellow, greenish, number 2 car dominated this race. Was clearly the fastest car of the race. Was hard to get by this entire race. Was hard to take the lead from him. When he lost the lead, it was just another half lap or lap later, he would take it back. Clearly, Austin Cindric was the fastest car on the racetrack, showed a lot of talent. He was fast in Daytona a week ago until he got caught up in a late race incident. Unfortunately, today gets caught up in a late race incident again. He was clearly upset in some of the post-race interviews that I saw on X following this crash. Very unfortunate for Austin Cindric. I've become a bigger fan of him, especially on these types of tracks. The way he's a smart racer, doesn't cause accidents, and continues to run up front and should have won at least one of these two races. Kyle Larson, it looks like he just gets, I don't know, he said it was a lazy slide up the racetrack. Not sure if he just, didn't let off the gas or just stayed full throttle a little too much. Got into Cindric, caused a wreck. William Byron, unfortunately, was just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think Kyle Larson spotter was telling him he was not clear. Larson continued to slide up the racetrack. Really frustrating there. Kyle Larson has caused a lot of accidents at the end of these races in the last few years because he's always up front. He's got a talented team. He's a talented driver. And he's one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, should win a lot of races. He won a lot of races last year, and he's up front and he causes crashes. Can be a little frustrating to watch at times, but he did, unfortunately, I have to put, from what I can see, watching on TV from this camera angle, I have to put that entire blame on Kyle Larson taking out the dominant car of the day, and I think that should be talked about. Unfortunate for him. Let's go through the top 10 here. Once again, you have Christopher Bell getting the win. Carson Hocevar had a conversation with Ross Chastain and Ryan Blaney following this race in Atlanta. Carson Hocevar was very aggressive all day. I think Kyle Busch was upset with him over the radio as well. Certainly, Carson Hocevar, I didn't see where he caused a major wreck, a major accident. I mean, he did push Ryan Blaney out of the way. That's why Blaney was upset. But other than that, I didn't see anything insane that Hocevar did in the late stages of this race, so we'll certainly have to keep an eye on him, monitor him moving forward. But a nice second place finish for the Spire number 77. Kyle Larson in the third position. One of those rare top fives for him on these drafting style racetracks. So good for Kyle Larson that he's able to finish in the top three today, get some points. A little bit of redemption from last week in the Daytona 500. Ryan Blaney, take a look at this. It was this 20-something laps ago in the race. He gets that hit from Carson Hocevar. I'm sure that's why he had a conversation with him after the race. Slides down, saves the car completely, doesn't get a whole lot of damage, and is able to come all the way back up through the field. I didn't realize fresh tires would have played a role. I think it did, along with Ryan Blaney having a fast car all day, one of those fast Penske Fords, able to come all the way back up, finish in the top 5. Great result for Ryan Blaney. A top 10 a week ago, I believe, and a top 10 today at Atlanta. So a nice finish today for Ryan Blaney after those issues. He is still leading the points following today's race. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 5th position. You have Denny Hamlin was able to kind of get up there in the 6th place. Didn't really see a whole lot of them up front today as far as leading the race goes. Kyle Busch 7th. I think he was 7th to 12th the entirety of the race. Got a pit road speeding penalty in the midpoint. Was able to come back, finish in the top 7. Nice points day for him. Redemption a little bit from no stage points and wrecking out last week in the top 3. Ross Chastain, 8th position. Once again, he was right up there in position to possibly get the win at the end. Couldn't get it done. Bubba Wallace, same thing. Was in, 7th to 12th all day long. 9th place finish. John Hunter Nemechek, another top 10. Got a top 10 last week at Daytona. Got some stage points last week too. And finished up front today at Atlanta. Nice run for him. Let's see if he can keep that momentum going for some of these road course races. I don't expect it to be top 10s or maybe even top 15s every week. If he can get some top 20s, top 25s, we'll have to see what he can do in the point standings this year. John Hunter Nemechek could be fun to watch in that 42 car. Once again, trying to get better from last year. Already a much better start. Momentum is on his side. So once again, those are the top 10. Let's talk about a few drivers that didn't finish in the top 10. I mentioned that we did have a couple of accidents. Daniel Suarez, unfortunately, goes up into the wall, comes back down and into a few other drivers, causes a big crash there. That's very unfortunate for the driver of the 99, Daniel Suarez. Very frustrating accident there. And there's a lot of pressure on Daniel Suarez. I want to bring him up because he was last year's winner. He hasn't won since that race a year ago. Has made some mistakes on the racetrack at multiple different racetracks. I think the pressure is on. This is a contract year for Daniel Suarez in the 99. He was really hard on himself after the race. Got to try to get things together. Got to try to get some momentum on his side so he can win a race or at least get closer to winning, run better. He's just not quite up there with Ross Chastain right now on speed consistently at every racetrack. I want to see Daniel Suarez do good. I hope he does better, but it's been a rough start to the year for that 99 team. Just did not have that fast of a race car all day long, and then, of course, got caught up in trouble. You also saw Chase Elliott involved in an accident as well. Unfortunate for Chase Elliott there. That was a rough one for him. Once again, didn't finish in the top 10 a week ago, wrecked out today. That's really hard to swallow, hard pill to swallow for the driver of the number 9 Chase Elliott machine. Very frustrating situation there. We'll have to continue to monitor him in the points moving forward. That's really it. That's all there is to talk about. Well, there's really a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about, but I tried to condense it into this video. I think I covered most of it. Once again, had some crashes I didn't catch up on. We had a couple of big wrecks in this race. Kyle Larson at the end making a block on Austin Cindric, unfortunately taking Austin Cindric out of contention. But I thought it was a solid race. I thought it was a good race today from Atlanta, and hopefully next week at Circuit of the Americas it will be good as well, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully we don't have any wrecks on the final lap to cause officiating issues or controversy. But that's it. All I want to talk about, and of course about Kyle Busch finally finishing in the top 10. Let's get rowdy.